Let's go! Who's up next?
Good evening, Imperials. My name is Donnie Reese, and welcome back to the Xbox Empire, the weekly Xbox-centric show on the PSVG Podcast Network. Tonight's show, we're going to go through all of the Xbox news and what is probably maybe the best Xbox show, the best week in Xbox ever. Probably ever. It's been quite the fun time. But before we get there, please allow me to take a moment and thank the listeners that go the extra mile, to support us over at patreon.com/PSVG. So thank you, Calvo, Barry Cathcart, Josh Borboni, Chris McElfresh, Devin Tyus, Kyle Heyman, Paul Calico, Michael Masick, The Eggshin, Zach Bradshaw, Nick Fallhaber, Rude Days 93, Rob Emanuel, and one Grouchy Surge. Now, we have to kick off the show with a little housekeeping before we get into all the big mamma jamma news, and there is lots and lots of big mamma jamma news. But before we get there, please allow me to pull up the tweet, because you may notice, if you're watching us live and if you're listening to this on Thursday, that I'm hosting the show tonight, and you have yet to hear Kevin's voice. That is because after the show last week, Kevin quit. Kevin quit the show. So I pulled up his tweet. He did tell me, he released a statement. So this comes from Kevin. Since he's not here, I have the task of filling in his words. Just letting you all know that I'm stepping away from the Empire. Truth is, with all the debates and wars, bickering about what people can and can't and shouldn't like, I found myself not getting excited for any console. I think the audience and Eat the Hype both deserve the debate and conversation that someone more energized can perform. So, last week on the show, I went hard. I went hard after seeing what PlayStation kind of did, after listening to all the many things I've listened to from PlayStation-centric friends of mine, and just people on the internet, just influencers, the general zeitgeist that it is this thing that we love about video games. Not really the people I know, it's more about the influential people that have so much influence over others. I'm not going to apologize for it. I had several folks that said that this was their favorite Xbox show that we've done. Everybody was like, we loved it. The reason I'm not going to apologize for it is because I felt it. I believed it. I've been really excited about everything that Xbox has been doing, from Game Pass to cross-gen support to the actual console itself. And all along the way, I have hit tons and tons of resistance of people trying to explain to me that the thing that I was enjoying wasn't as valuable as the other thing because it didn't have an exclusive game or 4 or 10 or for whatever criteria. It wasn't next gen enough, was being held back, like all these things. What PlayStation did when they announced that they're doing basically all the same things that Xbox is doing is they validated Xbox's path. I felt such validation in being excited about this stuff for the first time in a long time. So I was lit and I was very excited about it. And I just wanted to say that. So I understand. I don't take it personally. Kevin told me it wasn't me, but I mean, he quit after the show. like it's kind of hard not to bring the timing into coincidence. And I'm upset about it because I don't get a chance to podcast with Kevin as much as I want to. And Kevin is my co-host. We've been doing the PSVG for 5 years. Now, I just want to say, for anybody that was paying attention or doesn't visit our Discord, are Kevin and I angry at each other? No, that's not it at all. I bought Kevin an Xbox yesterday. That's not the problem. Kevin and I are just good friends. I've never thought, as I've said a bunch, I don't think Kevin is enthusiastic about the Xbox brand as much as he likes using the Xbox brand. Like, to him, it's more of like a utility. He gets access to a bunch of games. It's cost appropriate. It's a valuable thing that he does. But is he enthusiastic about Forza? Is he going to get excited about Gears? No. So I say all of that to say this. This isn't the first time that I've had to try and replace a co-host. In the past, it's been very difficult to do it, especially in a short amount of time. This all happened on Friday. By Friday night, I had my co-host. And please allow me to introduce the new co-host on the Xbox Empire and the newest member of PSVG, Miss Elaine Stryker. Now, we're going to get into all of your background and stuff here in a bit, but I just wanted to say that I put the call out. My initial response when Kevin said it, to be honest, and I've never been anything but honest. Most people know that I'm honest to a fault. My initial response when Kevin was saying he wanted to step away was probably just shut the show down. The show had such a rocky start with Nathan, and he never had a permanent co-host. So I joined him, but then he always had time constraints. So we were monthly, but we weren't the same day every month. So we were kind of off and on and random weeks and stuff. And it's a shame because Xbox deserves better. They've been doing so many great things. So when Nathan finally said he had to step away, I had the chance to just shut it down. Then I could have that would have been easy, right? Just, he's not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But I didn't want to. We're launching new consoles, and I'm really excited about this stuff. So I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I got Kevin, most notably because we don't get a chance to talk, but also because he's my game share partner, so I know he plays Xbox. So I got him to do this with me, and Kevin did it with me from May. So since May, he's been there the whole time. So give him props for definitely filling in as best as I guess he could. But when I had to reach out for a new co-host, right, like I was just like, oh, I'm going to have to find a new person. We're going to have to get used to it. It's going to take a lot of time. I already do the Nintendo Shack every week. I do Strong Style. I do DLC. I already podcast too much. Oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. And when I put out the message that might be what I was going to do, the instant response was, don't do that. Overwhelmingly. In the Discord, on Twitter, in private messages, we had people that wrote me from London, from Russia, and it was really kind of, look, the biggest, the thing that I was most upset about Kevin deciding he wanted to step away from the show was our show was finding traction. Because we had Ryan McCaffrey on, because we had Randall Thor on, because of Sean Capri's cross promotion and all this stuff, the show feed has exploded. Like the stats are through the roof. People out there are listening to this. They like Xbox. So I was so excited, and we were finding traction, and it's like, here we go again. We have to reboot everything. So I put out the tweet looking for help. I had all kinds of people write me. Folks from Australia, Discord listeners, all kinds of folks. If you want to do it, I'd be happy to do it. And I said my rules are simple. You got to be consistent. I need you here every week. I believe in consistency, and that's the thing that's plagued this show the most. You got to be passionate. I want somebody that likes Xbox. I don't want somebody that comes and just deters Xbox at every step of the way. You got to be all in on PSVG. What we do here is team effort. Everybody has their own shows, but it's a part of the team effort. It's that team that keeps us together. And I got a lot of responses, and I got one response from Delvin, who reshared my tweet. And
which dumped it into my feed, man. Like by the grace of some weird Xbox deity, I don't know, video game deity, right? Like it shows up in my feed, and I see his retweet because I love Delvin. I've been on his show; he's a great dude. And I'm like, oh, I miss having a podcast. I feel that every summer. I've had podcasts for years, and I visit on the Scarcasm cast every summer, once a year. And then I spend 6 months moping because I don't have a podcast, and then I do nothing about it. And then here we are. We do this again. And I replied to your tweet. And then like 24 hours later, I got a DM that just said, "You're perfect." Yeah. Which made me feel warm in my heart.
So I get this tweet. Delvin responds to your tweet. You go, "Hey, I'd be into this." And we've never met. Right. I have no idea who you are. Delvin goes, "Donnie, you should pay attention to this." Delvin's on the team. Obviously that catches my fancy. So I immediately go to Devin. "How do you know this person?" I start running background. He goes, "She was on my show. Here's the link." I listen to the show. All the time I am DMing you like, "Hey, send me samples. Let me see it." Yeah. I listened to Delvin's show for 10 minutes and I was like, "Yeah, she's it." And for the rest of the day, I had people say, "Hey, I want to do the show." I was like, "We're good." What? You just tweeted. Like, "We're good."
I accidentally found the right person.
Spots filled. So without further ado, if you can't tell, I've been beating around the bush. I've been saving the surprise. Without further ado, Elaine, tell us about yourself, a little bit about some of your background and what you like. What made you decide to respond to the tweet above and beyond just wanting to podcast?
So I'm Elaine. My last name is really Stryker. I realize it sounds like a supervillain last name. My husband gave me the greatest
It's
gift.
spelled like it too, with the Y.
It's with the Y, with the German Y.
Yeah.
He gave me the best gift when he gave me that last name. I don't need your diamonds. Give me that last name. Because I have an Italian-American last name, and it's a lot. So this one was like, nah, now I seem like a supervillain, not a hero. So let's be clear. I'm in my late 30s. I've got a couple of kids, and I've played video games since I was somewhere around 4 years old. So it's been 3+ decades of video games. I started by beating my father at Duck Hunt and Mario, and I just kind of stepped through. He stopped playing video games with me when I started winning. Men don't handle losing well is a lesson I learned at 4. So everybody knows. So I kind of stepped through Nintendo generations, and then when I moved out and got my own, college dorm, it was other consoles from there, right? So I've been playing games since I was a wee kid on a tube TV that you had to tune to channel 4 because we liked 4 better than 3. That was the choice. So I'm an engineer by trade. I'm an electrical engineer. So like the nerd runs all the way through, if anyone was wondering. It doesn't just start with video games. I'm not like cool. I'm like a cool nerd. So that's what I've got.
You're going to be the new host. And
oh no,
that was one of
terrible decision.
That was one of the things that I was, I would say not concerned, but one of the things I was worried about. Obviously I podcast a lot, and I realize that our listeners, especially our fervent listeners, they probably hear me talk too much. And it was one of the reasons why I wanted Kevin to host the shows. He's a great host, and then it lets me just kind of hang back, while I'm doing the notes, while I'm looking at the stream, while I'm looking at the chat, instead of hosting like I do in the Nintendo Shack. So you fit all the bills. Like I said, 10 minutes of listening, I was like, oh, she is a natural storyteller. She's a natural talker. I have no problem. I can absolutely get this. And then I start combing through your profile, and I'm seeing these pictures of gaming PCs, pictures of PlayStation 4s and controllers. And I mean, you've got all the things. I was like, yeah, this is going to be a real easy fit. So as the show goes week over week, you're going to hear more of Elaine and less of me as the main show host. But we'll be here, same time, same place, every week, Wednesday night. I do apologize if you can hear my voice. I've been sick all week. As I almost about to cough, real sick all week. So this is my best face. I took a nice hot shower. I got a vapor rub, took all the meds. I'm going to try to keep it together here as best as I can for about an hour and a half before I go crawl back into bed.
My Italian grandmother would be like, yo, vapor rub will fix it. Put on the bottoms of your feet, then put on some socks. Then it has to go here, and then it has to go here, behind each ear. I don't know. She had a system. I'm probably camphor poisoned slightly. It's fine.
Wow. My wife brought me vapor rub, and I swear to God, it's the first time I've ever used it.
Dude, when my children were babies, my grandmother was like, put it on their feet. I'm like, you're not supposed to do that. She's like, I did it to your mother and she's fine. I'm like,
It's real funny because, yeah, I mean, I don't know what my mom did or didn't do, but I've told my life story on DLC quite a bit. I come from humble beginnings. We didn't have no vapor rub. She brought it to me, and I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? And she was like,
put it on places.
She was like, it's vapor rub. I was like, what? And you should have seen her, her face. She was so taken back. She was like, you've never had vapor rub? I was like, this is new to me.
Then she wasn't around like half the families I grew up with, because the Italian American families go pretty hard, and like a lot of the other, like some of the other like ethnic families in our community totally went hard on the vapor rub. But we don't buy name brand because you don't pay full price for that stuff. What are you doing? What are you even doing?
She did give me name brand, so she reached for top shelf
she
stuff.
Loves you,
right?
I don't get name brand anything in this house,
right?
I pay for it.
All right. So you're excited about joining PSVG?
Yeah.
I'm so excited to have you here. I'm always open to prop up another voice from a female gamer. It's been something that I wanted to do since we started, from the longest part, and I'm so happy. We had Caro, she's left the team. We have Rebecca, we have Haley, now we have you. We may have an all girls cast at one point. I'd be so proud. I could just hang it up. We could just retire. Ladies, it did it. Ladies cast. Oh,
we'll just call it Ladies Night, and we'll just talk about you guys the whole time.
Ladies
what?
Night.
I'm just good. Ladies. You DM me on the side.
That'd be good. That'd be good. BMox wanted to know, what are your fondest Xbox memories?
Oh man, I have two. I have two good ones. So, like most people, I was not bought in on the original Xbox because, like, what are you doing, Microsoft? You make software, right? So when I got my wisdom teeth taken out, I was like 19 years old, came home from college for a long weekend, got my wisdom teeth taken out, all 4 of them. And I was like, look, I'm bored. I'm going to roll into the GameStop or whatever it was back then, EB Games. I'm going to pick up this used original Xbox, and I'm going to get this copy of Halo because, as a kid, I loved Marathon. So I was in on Bungie. I was like, look, they probably didn't screw this up. What's the worst that could happen? It was real cheap at the time. I spent like 2 straight days in the den in my parents' house with an Xbox controller glued to my hands going, I don't know what time it is, and I'm on a lot of pain medication, but this video game is good. Like, it's good. And I remember bringing that box back to college with me and saying to my friends, look, it's the Marathon people. And people were like, what? That was playable on Apple computers. We don't know what you're talking about. We're playing Morrowind over here. Get with the program. I was like, well, it's got that too.
Right.
So, yeah. And then, Knights of the Old Republic. So that first Xbox was kind of revelatory for me because it was one of those like, oh, maybe this isn't so bad. Maybe I shouldn't have prejudged so hard, The other one was the launch of the 360. Man, that was almost as hellish of a nightmare as this was, getting one of those. I got a pre-order at a GameStop by where I was working out in Pennsylvania. But it was delayed. It wasn't going to come at launch. So I was like, cool, I'll go home for Christmas. I get a phone call on Christmas Eve, 9 a.m. GameStop's calling, telling me, we have your console, but if you don't get here by close today, we're selling it to the next person in line. I drove 2 hours on Christmas Eve, picked up that box, and Quake 4. I didn't make great choices. Okay, look. And I drove 2 hours home. My mom was super pissed off at me because there were pies to be baked and pasta to deal with. And then I spent the whole 10 days of Christmas break in my room.
Sure.
Even more mad at me trying to like Quake 4.
I would have done that in a heartbeat, for sure.
That's what I did. Yeah, I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, that's an easy drive.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool.
So those are those like, they stick in your memory forever. Like when my kids ask me for video game memories, those are 2 of the ones that just pop right out.
Xbox Empire founder, Emperor Nathan wants to know, Star Wars or Star Trek?
I have history with both. So I will say both. So when I was a kid, my dad loved Star Trek. So I like Star Trek just fine. But I have these memories of sitting in the kitchen with my father when my mom would work nights, watching Star Trek episodes on the little 11-inch TV that like every Italian family has in their kitchen for some reason. It's black and white, doesn't matter. And so I'm very fond of Star Trek because of those memories. And then, I went to see the prequel Star Wars movies in theater like day one in college.
Sure.
Look, I love
and
Star
you
Wars.
Loved it, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Those maybe aren't as fond of memories now. But
I'm not the Star Wars fan, so I always kind of tease him. He's the biggest Star Wars fan I've ever met. But it's so funny that I've learned through PSVG and these other members how the original trilogy is thought of, right? And there's documentaries, everybody hates it and everything. I was there. I was young, but I was there. I went to see those movies when they came out. And like, I remember the crowd like cheering and applauding. Everybody was so happy to have Star Wars back.
Weird. Yeah, it was weird. Like, and then it's after the fact.
Right. It's like 5 years later, everybody was like, actually, they suck. And everybody was like, they do.
That's because we rewatched 4 through 6 and we're like, no, actually, they're not. They're not. But those were also movies that my dad introduced me to as a kid, 4 through 6. And he was like, in my day, we went and saw these in the theater. So,
sure. I took my kids too with the new trilogy. Yeah,
I did the same thing because it's a female lead. So for my daughter,
True.
The Ghostbusters that everyone kind of hates too, it's just more about having like a female role model for her and showing her that, women can be heroes. Like I think for an 8-year-old girl, that's important. So.
Absolutely. I get it. 100%. And it's also, it's an event.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's more than, because people dress up, they're in costumes, or people bring lightsabers. Like it's more than just going to the movies. It's more than that. It's better than that.
It's like a mini Comic-Con. It's kind of
it's
rad. You don't get that with everything, and it was very fun. So.
Exactly. All right, so let's get into the Xbox news because we've got a lot. It could be a long show. Here's the funny thing, and you know this because you see the notes. I had a whole separate show lined up until Monday.
Yeah, and then the whole show slowly starts getting deleted. Like I opened the notes and I was like, I'm gonna leave this on my computer all day. I'm gonna see how this goes. And I'm sitting here like,
oh man, Monday. Xbox, in an astonishing move, shocks the industry, all industry, like corporate industry, the stock market, when they announced that they have entered an agreement to acquire ZeniMax Media, the parent holder of Bethesda Softworks and all of their subsidiaries. They're not just...
For how much money?
$7.5 billion cash.
I just want to give a little context. They paid 1/3 that amount for Minecraft.
The Cleveland Browns were sold for $1 billion.
Cleveland Browns are...
I'm from Cleveland.
I know, but you know they're not good.
I know, but it's still an NFL team. You could have bought 7 Cleveland Browns.
It's funny because my husband, who is an accountant and who could care less about video games, he walks down from the upstairs when some of this starts to break, and he's like, "Did you hear about this ZeniMax thing?" I'm like $7.5 billion is a lot of money. I'm like, I did not need the accountant to tell me that information. Like,
boy, 7.5, and it was made apparent that it was cash. So I believe, now I did not dive into the earnings, I believe that it's a lump sum payment, or otherwise I don't think they would have said it.
I think that's why they say it cash. Yeah, it's
right.
Like all up front.
Because otherwise they would have said like they'll pay, $1 billion this year and they'll pay so many more year over year. But no, I was like, nope, we just own Bethesda today. This is shocking news.
I wonder how long they've been working on this deal. That's what I want to know, because Bethesda did not do an E3 thing even virtually this year, correct? Yep. So something was going on right before the summer.
Well, it's funny because there are a lot of people on Twitter that were attributing this to the Halo delay. And I was like, you guys don't understand how this works. Halo wasn't delayed and Microsoft was like, we need to buy somebody. That's not how it works.
This is too much money for them not to be driving to their bank.
A year at least.
Yeah, at least
lawyers, proposals, negotiations.
The lawyers are eating this up. Can you imagine what the percentage is on top of that? Oh, Lord.
$7.5 billion, which I did see, and I'm going to paraphrase because I didn't write it down, so I'm probably going to misquote it, and I'm sorry. I did see somebody compared it to PlayStation's, I think, earnings revenue from 2013 to 2018, and their revenue was like $8 billion. So PlayStation or Xbox just spent all of the money that PlayStation has earned this generation. I think they just spent it on Monday.
I think some people really do forget that Microsoft is like a services company and they just sit on money. Like they make a lot of money.
Trillions.
And while
they're valued at over $1 trillion. Right.
Because everybody and their mother, including my company, buys Office 365 and they use Azure, and like they're liquid.
Raking in money.
They can just do this. They don't care.
It's like in those city management games when you have all the rackets and every 15 minutes more money just keeps dropping into the bank account. That's Microsoft. Yeah, they're literally sitting there. They come back from vacation. They're like, where did all this money come from? Like,
Scrooge McDuck diving into the vault of gold, right? That's just Phil. He just took his pants off. He's just guys, I need a minute.
This is
all the Bethesda. Don't worry about it. But
this is monumental. Again, not only did they buy Bethesda, so a lot of people you hear buy Bethesda, they think Todd Howard. You got you got Fallout. It's not just the games. They got the studios. They got the games. They own the engine. They own the tech. They own the buildings. These people, all of it. They literally just bought the entire company.
There's a $10,000 line item just for Todd Howard's shiny shoes, so don't worry.
Speaking of those developers, includes Bethesda Softworks, Bethesda Game Studios, id, ZeniMax Online Studios, Arcane, Machine Games, Tango, Shinji Mikami makes games for Xbox now. Alpha Dog and Roundhouse Studios, bringing the Xbox first-party in-house development teams to 23.
That's a lot.
Now, we have a lot of questions that a lot of people want to hear about. But I want to make one point before we break it all down. A lot has been said about Xbox's lack of system-selling, top-flight games from first-party this generation. And if you look at their roadmap, which we did last week, we actually did a whole thing where we went through studio by studio what you could expect for the next 4 years from Xbox. If you add this to that, it goes from marginal okay, it's got some heavy hitters, Halo, Forza, Gears, to insane. And if you look back at this generation and you add all of Bethesda's releases on top of Xbox's releases, it looks crazy. We're talking like 8, 9, what you would call AAA games a year. For the entire decade, it's crazy. So obviously, Bethesda makes Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Wolfenstein, Doom, Dishonored, Prey, Quake, Starfield, all of it, and a lot of people have a lot of questions. First and foremost, which I think everybody wants to talk about this, everybody has an opinion on this. Does this mean that Bethesda games are now exclusive to Xbox?
I mean, So Phil commented. Phil Spencer did comment because Bloomberg asked that question because Bloomberg is a business publication and that's business, right?
Yep.
He responded essentially that any exclusivity deals in place right now with PlayStation for the PS5 will remain as such.
Yep.
So that would be Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, to my knowledge. Those are the two. Future Bethesda games are going to be on Xbox, PC, and, quote, other consoles on a case-by-case basis. There is limited world in which, in my opinion, there is limited world in which Microsoft does not put these games out on the PlayStation console and even the Switch, because there's a history of that happening, because the install base will be ridiculous and there's no way they sneer at money. Now, they might wait 6 months. They might give you exclusive content on the Xbox, but they're not stupid enough to lock everyone out. I'll use Minecraft as an example. Minecraft just got a PlayStation VR update this week, on Sony's console. There's no way they say with the install base that PS4 has going into PS5, no, we don't like that money. It would have to get very dire for them. And as we just talked about how liquid they are, I don't see that happening personally. Okay. Maybe, but it would have to get bad.
My initial reaction was similar. For different reasons, though. My initial reaction, like the moment I heard the news, I almost tweeted about this, I think, within 10 minutes. Probably the rest of video game Twitter gave their 2 cents at first.
Yeah.
Bethesda's franchises are so beloved to so many players that have played them for so long that to pull them away from a player that wants to play them on the preferred system of their choice where they've always played them doesn't feel like Xbox. It doesn't feel like Phil.
Right.
It doesn't seem to fit his MO. But I got to tell you, I think I've been walked off that platform. I've flipped. Everybody that I go to for Xbox info, insider info, business info, everybody that speculates on this that I respect and trust, they all say 100% these are going to be exclusive.
I think that's an interesting take. Like, I see it from a business point of view. I would agree with it, and I'm not an insider, but I would agree with it if Microsoft was in the business of selling hardware. If they needed you to have an Xbox in your house.
Good point.
I don't think they're in the business of selling hardware.
I think they're in
less.
I think they're in the business of pushing Game Pass.
Correct. Now, this is just an added bonus for your $15 a month, right? So, like,
it's incredible.
And on your PC, you don't have to buy those games on Steam if you don't own their box. So I don't know that I buy all the way in on them locking out PS5 because I don't think they care how many PS5s want those games.
But bringing in PS5 doesn't push Game Pass. It actually actively stops pushing Game Pass for those people. Those are potential customers to win over on Game Pass. I wrote down a couple notes that I thought. The first note that I wrote down, my little handy dandy sick notepad.
Oh, you've got written notes.
Is next gen doesn't equal last gen. I've heard the money thing, and everybody says, there's 120 million PlayStation 4s. Those are PlayStation 4s. Sure. Elder Scrolls isn't coming out on PlayStation 4. It's coming out on PlayStation 5. Like Starfield probably isn't coming out on PlayStation 4. It's coming on PlayStation 5. So that ratio and that giant amount of people, that's not necessarily true. We don't know that. Right. Xbox is likely trying to get back some of their market share. And what a better way to do it. The one criticism that I hear more often than anything, I think every Xbox fan hears it. And quite frankly, if you're like me, you get tired of hearing it. There's no reason for me to own an Xbox. Now there is. There's a really big one.
There's still no reason to own an Xbox.
That's true. You don't have to own an Xbox.
PC that can run Game Pass.
100%.
That's, I think, the crux of this conversation, right? Because there are going to be people, and I'm one of those people, who buy a PlayStation to play those exclusive games, right? I want to play Demon's Souls. I want to play Miles Morales, period, full stop. Okay, I'm not the person who's only going to put an Xbox in my house. But those people, I could see them going, well, I get such a value out of Game Pass on my PC that maybe instead of buying this game on the PS5 when it comes out for $60, I'll buy a Game Pass code for 3 months and play it that way.
Yep.
And then I get other stuff too. So you still might be able to sell those people into Game Pass that way. So I'm curious to see which route Microsoft takes. Do we take the Sony very traditional console maker route, which is we have these exclusives by our service or box if you want them? Or do they take the, I think we can talk you into Game Pass anyway route? And it seems to be where Phil wants to be. by what his interviews vibe with.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to say if they, like I said, if the market share gets dire, maybe they walk it back. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a real interesting.
I'll also say I think it's where Bethesda wants to be. Like they've made a big claim about their independence. They're going to keep publishing like their own publishing arm. I think they want to make their games available to everyone just because they put that in there. Like, so I'm not opposed to doing it by any means. Like if anything, I think I actually would support it.
Yeah. But, especially if those people get to keep their jobs. Like they hire people for Bethesda games to do both. Yep. Like they have to develop that code for two different arms. So it would suck for Microsoft to be like only on our systems and then people lost their jobs. That would really bum me out. It would make me very like disappointed.
I saw a lot of PlayStation folks being like, I've played Doom for 20 years and now you're telling me I can't. I don't think that MO really applies because it's not like you can't. Like you said, not bringing it to PlayStation doesn't mean you're not bringing it to those players. You can play it on your phone. You can play it through xCloud. You can play it on your PC. You don't have to buy an Xbox. So in a lot of ways, Xbox is still giving you the ability to play it without buying their console.
It's true.
It's just a matter of how much you want to pay for it. And if you want a console experience, they have a product for that.
Right.
The last point that I did see this on Twitter, so this is not my original point, but it was a really great thought. Publishing those games on PlayStation also is earning PlayStation money because they're going to take a cut of every game sold. That's not necessarily something you want to be doing with your competition, especially when they're snatching up like every exclusive left to right. And I thought it was interesting that the moment that this news came out, and I did tweet about this because I'm a cynical, jaded Xbox fan, there was a giant amount of fervor of, well, they put Minecraft on PlayStation, so they're going to put Fallout on PlayStation. And the immediate reaction I had was, had PlayStation bought Bethesda instead of Xbox, would anybody be saying that at all?
So remember that Sony is a Japanese company, right? Ultimately, at its core, with a North American arm, and that the rules of engagement for business are very different for Japanese companies. So do I think that they would just lock it into the PlayStation brand? Oh yeah, 100%.
And would their fans be going, we want to make sure that those people can play it on Doom on Xbox? No, they would not.
No, they don't. There's a double standard there for sure. And there always is in these conversations. You know what I mean? Like always a double standard. Like every argument like that always goes that way. But I think Sony would have totally locked it out right away. I think Microsoft has shown a willingness to just make money in non-traditional ways, especially with what they've done with Nintendo. I signed into my Microsoft account on my Switch to play Minecraft.
And Ori.
It still blows my mind.
And Ori, you get achievements in Ori.
That's true.
You get like hidden achievements, like trophies pop.
It's wild. Like and Nintendo has been very willing to work with them. Sony definitely had to be dragged kicking and screaming. They don't want to.
Your precedence is good. So you brought up Minecraft and Minecraft Dungeons. There's also the Outer World and Wasteland, which are Xbox-owned studio games that ended over else. I do think though that people that pull from these and Ori, people that pull from these examples. I feel like there's more detail. There's more to read between the lines. With Outer Worlds and Wasteland, those were through different publishers, and those were agreed to things already, just like Deathloop. So that was out of Microsoft's hands. That's why they were published everywhere. Outer Worlds 2 will not be published everywhere. It's to be exclusive. Matt Booty went on record early last year when Ori released. There's a whole article, you can go find it, where he talked about, no, we're in the business now of making sure our products, our content is driving people towards Game Pass, and that's where we want to be. So I think they've went on record that I think Minecraft is such an outlier, and I would use Elder Scrolls Online as well. I think any free-to-play, multiplayer-centric game, it hurts the game to not support it on multiple platforms. So Fallout 76, put it everywhere, right? You need consistent players. That's where the value of the game comes from. But any single-player game, whereas I go like the next Elder Scrolls, next Fallout 5, whatever, I at this point, I now think that it's probably exclusive. Now, because Bethesda wants to support it, maybe it's only a timed exclusive. Maybe it comes later.
Let's play that game. Let's say, because for time capsule purposes, if you could make one prediction about one game, I would say mine is that Elder Scrolls will be a timed exclusive to the Xbox family. That's my prediction. If I end up being wrong, I end up being wrong. But
sure.
Elder Scrolls 6 is the one that I predict will be like the one that they would hold back, because that's the one.
Isn't it hard to imagine a world where they don't put Skyrim on everything?
My toaster. Look, there's this new touchscreen toaster that I keep telling my husband I middle class white lady want, and I don't need a $300 toaster. But if Todd Howard doesn't port Skyrim to that, then I quit. I quit video games. I'm out.
So I mean, that's the part of it. It's like it almost feels more taboo going out and saying that it's exclusive, because it honestly just feels weird because it's Bethesda. It's like, you know, the tweet that I wrote, it actually got a little run this week, was Xbox bought a second E3 presentation.
Yeah, whole one. Good one.
Right.
One that's been fun. I've had fun with their dumb, cheesy presentation I missed it this year.
You usually have like 6-7 major shows. You had the platform providers and you had the third-party providers. You had Square Enix, Ubisoft, EA, and Bethesda. They just bought all of it. They're just like, we have two shows now. They bought a
bunch of nacho cheese over top, too, because that Bethesda show is the cheesiest. I love it. Chester Cheetah could give that show. It's great. Man. It's fantastic. I think Elder Scrolls is the one. You know why I think that? Because I think that Fallout eroded some of the excitement with 76. So I think if you were going to hold only one, for me, it would be Elder Scrolls. It's the only thing they haven't eroded out over time.
Sure. I'm not opposed to it by any means. I want people to play the games. I've always wanted that. So I do think if they do something timed, I think it's got to be longer than 6 months. I saw that too. I think people were being real optimistic. And I was like, 6 months doesn't do a whole lot for Game Pass. Now, 18 months? That does a lot for Game Pass. You basically give it the Final Fantasy VII treatment. And they go like, hey, we have Elder Scrolls. You can play it right now if you buy an Xbox, or you can wait 18 months to play it on that system you love.
But see, here's the thing. That maybe the way you say it, though, like with how many times Skyrim has been re-released,
I know.
maybe 18 months doesn't matter. Maybe it doesn't matter at all.
Skyrim makes it hard when you look at it that way.
Yeah, think about that. Like 18 months, we were getting new versions of Skyrim. I just bought one like last year. Like what? I can't. That's such a weird thing. I really hope. See, I'll go on record. I hate this exclusivity nonsense. Like I get first party studios. I get that.
Yep.
The timed exclusive stuff makes me ornery because it's like, dude, people who are excited about games should just get to freaking play them.
Yeah.
I know it's business. I'm a grown up. I understand. That doesn't mean it doesn't make me grumpy. So.
Oh no, I get it. And the sad part is, PlayStation's been buying them up left and right.
Yeah, sure.
So if they're going to keep doing it, at some point, Xbox has to do it. Like, they can't just be everybody's friend the whole time.
They started with Ninja Theory. They locked in Hellblade. And while that seems small, it was them definitely reaching forward and saying, we are willing to do this with games that maybe aren't explosive. This was the first time where they were like, you know what? Here. We want it. We're paying for it. This was the Park Place Monopoly move.
I do agree with you. If they were going to do it, Elder Scrolls seems like the one that would give you the most sales and the most, because there's a business part of it and there's also like a good PR part of it. Whereas like Doom, Wolfenstein, those are exclusive.
I don't know. I think Doom is one of those ones where I think that's going to be interesting because I believe both Doom Eternal, Dishonored 2, and I think the newest Wolfenstein as well underperformed. So I'm actually super curious what they do, because if you're already underperforming multi-system, do you really want to like shrink those sales numbers more when game budgets are not shrinking? So that's where I think it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're spot on there.
It's math, man.
I mean, I'm still kind of shook, if you can't tell. Like, even thinking about this, this was like the news story of the decade. This might be one of the biggest video game news stories ever.
I was legitimately angry because I was like, you can't, first of all, I had not had enough coffee. I have small children. I'm trying to work. Like, I have a job and I'm like muting a conference call trying to absorb this news. But more that, like, you couldn't have put this out the day after the stupid pre-orders went live for the new console. Like, you're killing me, Smalls.
Yeah, I was very scared when it hit. I was like, oh no.
I was like, come on. I had to fight so hard for a PS5 with only two, with like the prospect of the two exclusives that I wanted to play. And now, but why? I was so mad.
And these games that they got, you're right to point out they haven't sold poorly. So you'll hear people say that too. They'll kind of point out and they'll be like, well, it's not Last of Us, it's not whatever, it's something else. But it's also not like bad. They still sell multiple millions of copies.
I use the word underperformed because when they look at the budget for the game and what they expect to sell, they sold less than that amount. So they may not have lost money, but they definitely didn't make what they projected.
Xbox will be absolutely happy if it can drive those type of numbers to Game Pass. They will be through the roof excited.
That's what this is all about. They've jumped from 10 to 15 million subscribers to Game Pass at $15 a month. They want that number to, I believe they said quadruple. I don't necessarily think they mean on the back of this announcement, but overall, they're selling a service. They could care less what box you are using to play it.
And they added EA. Like that gets lost in all of this now. It's like the sports games are there too. Like Game Pass is incredible.
That's huge.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people out there who cannot afford to buy a $60 game every month and love sports games and want to play them. So they can play them with their friends for a fraction of that cost. That's a big deal, bigger than I think people realize.
Another thing that I think is really, really great about this news for Xbox, the company, is that they bought iconic, legendary IP content that they can use. They can cross promote. You could have Machine Games make a Halo game or a Halo spinoff game or a Gears game. You could have id do that. Like you can do all kinds of cross promotion, cross pollination. And eventually, I've been thinking for a long time, eventually when we get to a console-less world, because it's going to happen, they have content to hold up. Like Game Pass has enough content now in first party alone to make it worth having. Again, the people are like, there's no reason to have an Xbox. Having an Xbox means having Game Pass, and there's a billion reasons now to have Game Pass. Like, this is insane news. The moment that this news came out, I started snatching up every deal I could get on Game Pass.
Yeah, you're gonna find less discount codes now that they don't feel like they have to turn. How many Nintendo online discount codes do you see? How many PlayStation Plus goes on sale from time to time, right? But like, they've turned the dial on those pretty tight, and I think that Microsoft is like, get everyone on the service.
Yep.
Go. I don't care if you put it on discount. Just get them on, because once they're on, you'll forget about $15 a month. That's less than I pay for.
You're not going to want to leave. Why would you want to leave?
It's so good, and they give you a discount on a game if you love it and want to buy it.
I mean,
that's an added notable bonus.
We've seen so many splash pages of all the studios and all the characters. I mean, you're talking about Doomslayer, Wolfenstein, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Halo, Forza,
make a fighting
Gears.
Game now. Make a fighting game.
Insane.
Let's do it. Let's just have the Doom guy fight the Halo guy. Let's go.
I went like a buddy cop where you have like Master Chief and Doomslayer and Marcus and BJ, and they all go out together like a 4-player co-op shooter-based game.
There's no dialogue. They just cock shotguns over and over because none of those dudes cocks well.
It's just lots of like grunting.
Lots of grunting and shotgun. Like that's all they do.
It was like King of the Hill. They're just like, yep.
It's like Bad Boys, but without the funny dialogue.
It is like Bad Boys. It's
like Bad Boys, but without the funny. Like, come on, there you go.
That's real good. So what do you think this means for taking our Xbox hat off? What do you think this means for Bethesda games? Like, how do you think? I mean, I think the fit is perfect.
I agree. I think this gives them both resources and access to Azure. So the cloud services, they have their own cloud platform. They built one, but let's just talk about their Bethesda launcher is garbage. I have it because I have all these launcher. I'm looking at my taskbar. It's gross. Put it on the Game Pass. Get rid of the Bethesda launcher. That's more money and time you don't have to funnel into development of that. They get a streamlined experience and near infinite resources to make it go. To them, they must be like, yeah, man, just let me make my games my way. Yep. Which Microsoft is pretty good at, like, not sticking their nose too far in by what I've heard.
That's what all the reports say. Everybody that they've adopted seems to love being there. All their projects get greenlit. Yeah. They get left alone.
And now they don't have to try to fix their garbage PC launcher. They can just put in Microsoft's slightly less garbage PC app. I don't love Microsoft's app. Look. The
Game Pass app?
It's fine.
No. I like it.
It's fine. It's not good. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. It's very serviceable. It's better.
I'll take your opinion. I hate playing games on PC.
That's fair.
The sheer idea of it, and I look at my keyboard and I'm like, oh.
I'm literally looking. Well, I just have a very expensive Xbox Elite controller connected to my PC. I've solved all these problems.
Nice.
But Bethesda's launcher is actual trash. So they don't have to fix it anymore. There's always a resources problem, right? Like, people are a resource, unfortunately. And I think being able to funnel that talent into building like better multiplayer experiences, using Microsoft's back end to make those multiplayer experiences more seamless, there's no not winning here, like
Yeah.
it's hard to see why this would be a bad thing for Bethesda at all. I mean,
bringing
Todd
up some of
Howard-
their sales performance stuff, right? You had to think that if all of that conjecture was true, that they couldn't keep on the way they were keeping on. Like, they have a lot of studios. It's a lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah.
You got to perform. And when you're making AAA budgets, as we've seen this generation, you're one miss away from being axed. Like, you're a bad miss away from just getting the axe.
I think both the Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo exclusivity deals play to the point that Bethesda needed to lock some money in.
Yeah.
They were in a position where they had to, probably, because they'd never really done that before. That wasn't really their gig. So they were probably like, yo, we don't have to worry. We'll just let someone else help us with the budget.
Sure.
Fix it.
Yeah.
Fix it.
Yeah. And when you're making AAA games, it almost feels safer to have an entity behind you to let you be a little bit more creative and free and less worry. You don't have to chase microtransactions and battle royales and whatever the hotness is. You can kind of make your game.
Yep.
Because, especially with Game Pass, because you're not necessarily being held to how many copies did you sell, being held to, are our Game Pass folks, one, are they signing up? Are they staying? And are they playing? It's about retention.
Game Pass is also interesting too, because I think, especially for me, it's definitely driven me to install and try out more single player games than I would have in the last couple of months too. Like, I lose nothing. It's there. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'm bored of Fortnite. I'll just install this thing and check it out. And I think that it does drive touches to your game, like number of people who are seeing it. And I think Bethesda sees that as a big gain.
And then you get all those people playing about it. It makes noise, and we've seen it. It makes noise on other consoles, other systems. All of a sudden, other people start playing. I really want to say, and Jeff Grubb kind of wrote about this. This is where I was kind of leading to. I mean, it's kind of a great thing that Microsoft did, because it could have been somebody else. It could have been EA, could have been Activision, could have been Tencent.
Could have been Tencent. Everybody else that you just listed does not have the liquid income to make this deal.
I mean, let's say
EA surely does not.
Let's just say it was Sony. I don't think they have it either, but let's just say it was Sony, right?
Yeah.
Xbox completely embraces PC, and Bethesda's legacy and PC are huge tied together.
Yeah.
The fact that Game Pass is there for PC, and it is basically, I mean, Valve could have bought them. That would have been a fit.
They don't do that, but they could have. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people, Epic could have bought them.
Yeah, Epic
could have Epic's got money to throw it.
Sure.
Epic's got money to fight Apple. They can do whatever they want.
But who would have given them, like, hey, we have a console for you to support, and we still are going to let you put your games not just on Game Pass for PC, but we're going to let you put them on Steam too.
Yeah.
Like, that's Microsoft.
Yes, exactly. Because Microsoft is here, like, we want to sell our service, and we want to give people a reason to have it.
Yeah.
And that's what they bought right there. They bought more reasons that $15 a month is worth it. It was already worth it to me. But for some people, it might have been teetering, and they just bought, like, well, if I get Doom and Wolfenstein, and an Elder Scrolls game, what if I get free stuff for Elder Scrolls Online every month? All right, why not?
I want Doom gear and Gears. I want Gears.
Gears, Gear, and Doom.
And Doom.
Have you seen the stupid Twitch integration with Doom Eternal where you get a unicorn outfit?
No.
Just me? Oh, it's good. It's real stupid.
Doom Eternal is going to come to Game Pass.
They teased that today.
Yeah. I want Doom Eternal to get like a full Xbox Series X patch update. I want them to go nuts with it, like really crank it up. Doom Eternal is the perfect game that I want to like try out when I plug that thing in for the first time.
Give me all your frames.
Yeah.
I played it on Xbox One X, and it was fine. But I've since played it again on PC, and I was like, oh, it was only fine.
Really?
Yeah, no, the PC version.
Oh,
I have a 1080 Ti, which is not the newest card, but it can hang. That game is so fast and great. Like, and it was good on the X, but oh boy,
it's better.
Oh yeah.
So you'd think I would be into PC gaming, but I just don't. It's just like where I sit and how I play. It's not like what I want to do. I do it, but it's not what I want to do. But I was quite amazed with how great I thought it was running. Because like all that you were doing, how big the world was, how great it looked, all of the geometry, the platforms, the verticality of the game, the speed of the game, the enemies on screen. I was like, this is nuts. Like they are making magic over here with this game on a console. And
they did a great job on a console. The only time I noticed is because I was like, oh, I want to see how it performs on PC because I'm an idiot. And I was like, it's shiny. Look, I make questionable decisions. Also, I grew up playing Doom on a PC. So for part of me, it was like, oh, it's
home for you.
Yeah.
Well, it's great that we have you here on our show now, because now we have somebody else that can bring more of that here, because Devin's probably in the chat. He's probably just raking over the coals because Yeah, I have no love for the PC. It's not even the PC. It's just dev. It's just out of sheer spite for Devin. That's all
I
it
think
is.
for a lot of people, though, Doom like lives on the PC.
Yeah, it does.
You know what I
It
mean?
does.
Like I learned how to use DOS on original Doom. Oh God, I'm gonna shake my cane and apply my Tiger Balm now. But like in my day, you had to type in a command to run your video games, and they came on the big floppies. But so for me, like there's a connection for Doom.
Sure.
So that's one shooter that I'm like, yeah.
I mean, and Doom is a part of video game history. I was watching the Netflix show. I'm quite younger. I didn't grow up with PCs, and I didn't grow up with Doom. I don't think I ever played Doom until 64, maybe.
Oh my! Actually, Doom 64 is real good, so I'm gonna let you have that.
Right.
Let that go.
But like I was watching the Netflix show about video games, and like they have a whole episode dedicated to Doom. Xbox now owns a piece of that history.
Yep.
It can't. Let's go ahead and go to the next question. Chase wants to know, what's the biggest piece of news to you out of the ZeniMax acquisition? Is the IP, the studios, the cloud streaming tech? Chase, to me, it is without question the IP. IP is extremely powerful. Like I just said, they own a piece of video game history now, like legacy, like Rushmore of games,
right.
Like Mario. Like they have Doomslayer,
Doom guy and Mario right next to each other.
I mean,
somebody draw that for me, please.
It's incredibly important, and
it is. And Elder Scrolls, like I have very strong feelings going back to Morrowind with Elder Scrolls, but I think, and I've sat and thought about this a lot of times, I believe that Skyrim is the video game I have purchased the most times across the most number of systems, and I legitimately think it might be up to like 7.
Wow.
It's bananas, right? I remember being pregnant with my first child, I don't know, and my husband kept stealing my Xbox to play Skyrim. So I handed him an Xbox and a copy of Skyrim after work one day. That's how many copies of Skyrim are in my life, right? So that IP, all of it, is just a behemoth. Like, it's just a giant metal war chest full of good stuff.
Yep.
So.
And Quake, like you brought up, like they have other things they could revive and bring back. And I mean, you add in Rare and everything else that they've done. Like they've got so much stuff. And I know Chase is, he's a Stadia guy. He loves the Google Stadia stuff. And one of the things that I was talking about when I was excited for Stadia was I thought that Google entering the market, I thought that they would use their money like Xbox did to buy their way in. This is a move that I was expecting Google to make because they have all the money. And I'm surprised that they didn't. That's somebody that could have bought Bethesda, and people would have hated that.
That would have felt real gross. The only counter I will make to that is Google loves starting things and not finishing them.
Yeah, that's the thing everybody does.
Hangouts is.
But like, it's just the type of move that if you wanted to acquire market, then go buy something that has that market. And Xbox did in droves. And
I can't believe this still.
I still can't believe. Every time you look at it, you're like, oh.
I keep looking at the show notes and going, that didn't happen. I had a fever dream. I was in a pre-order induced fever, right? Like that's what happened.
Game Pass is now a must-have platform if you are a fan of RPGs, like Western RPGs, and shooters.
Western, yes.
Right, and shooters.
And shooters and tactical games if you play on PC, because the Age of Empires series is definitely holding it down there, and Crusader Kings. Like, look, for $15 a month, this is the one thing about Microsoft I will evangelize. If they Xbox, I don't care.
At this point, if they upped it to $25 a month, I'd still.
Okay, look, I married an accountant. You can't say things like that out loud. Okay?
We'd all pay for it.
I know, but I don't need to have that marital fight. Please keep my marriage.
And here's the thing, like I'll even admit it, like I did in the Discord. I'm kind of hit or miss on Bethesda games. I don't do Dishonored. I don't do Fallout.
You don't do, or you haven't played?
I've played Dishonored. It was okay. Like I didn't play the whole thing, but I enjoyed what I was doing. I didn't finish it and moved on to something else.
Fair enough.
Fallout, I just don't like. I've tried to play it. I like Fallout New Vegas, but I didn't finish it either.
Hear me out. That could happen again.
I know.
Because they own both parts.
And because of the IP, they could actually give it to somebody else. They could have spin-offs of Fallout. They may make a Fallout game that I actually like.
They could make a Fallout game that doesn't suck. Look, I played Fallout 76. I'm still mad. Okay, I love Fallout. Somebody asked me, it was a friend who was like, do you think Todd Howard just hangs it up and takes his money? I'm like, there's no way that man's ego sends him out on Fallout 76. His shoes are too shiny for his ego to let him walk away from Fallout with that trash heap behind him.
I think Microsoft's checkbook made sure that didn't happen. I think when they were talking acquisition, they were like, Todd, why don't you sit down here? We need to have a chat.
Yeah. Bring your shoes. We got a shiner. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I love that.
Shinji Mikami, I've basically loved everything he's ever touched.
Agree.
So I'm ecstatic for him. I love Doom games. I'm not the biggest Doom fan, but I play them all. And Wolfenstein. I love Wolfenstein, the story campaign shooter. I'm there for all of that too.
I like Wolfenstein a lot too. This is exciting, right?
It
like
is.
a big name grabbing up a studio that maybe was on the brink of having to do some reshuffling or rethinking, and being able to put it on a service that you pay less for than your Netflix membership.
And you already, like, for us, we already have it.
Yeah.
This was just incredible value. They're like, we just doubled the value of that thing you have.
You're
welcome.
It still blows my mind that this happened for this amount of money, and people are still like, video games are for kids, and I'm like, $7.5
billion cash.
Please. They're not for children.
Cash.
Children are buying video games.
Man.
Buying video games.
While we're talking about acquisitions, I do want to at least address the rumor. There is a floating rumor on Twitter that Xbox is buying Sega. That's not happening.
They actually had to tweet, "Don't worry, there are no acquisition announcements during TGS." Calm down. Sega's fine. They're
after seeing this, you can now 100% say never say never. Because,
sure,
right.
They would be buying the only thing they don't really have, which is Japanese RPGs.
It's true. But to buy Sega, you would have to either buy the subsidiary outright from Sammy or buy Sammy, and that's I don't think gamers appreciate what a giant move that is. We're talking about a company that has like global headquarters in like Europe and Asia and US and Mexico. It's a global brand. It is giant.
Now, my husband, this is when his like expertise is useful. He's an international tax accountant and literally deals with this for a large international company. And I was talking to him about that, and he's like, I don't think you have any idea how many different ways they would have to pay taxes. Like, it's literally not worth it. I'm like,
and it would be super hard, one, to do it and keep it quiet. It would be super hard to do it. Yeah. Like, if Sega was for sale, I 100% believe Nintendo or Sony, like, to sell to an American company, no less. And to come in there just swinging bags of money around. There's a cultural divide that I think would be a challenge. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it would be a challenge. It'd be hard to work through. It just doesn't seem like a fit.
It would be... Sega has done well for themselves in the position that they are in. They cashed out of the hardware business at the right time and acquired the right studios to keep themselves afloat in a complicated video game space. So I don't see them being like, please take us from some... No, please, they're fine.
There could be a partnership. Like, Microsoft could give somebody a bunch of money and said, all of your games are on Game Pass. Actually, that reminds me, it's another point I wanted to bring up about Bethesda. A lot of people are like, well, you could put it on Game Pass and then sell it to people on PlayStation. It's a win-win. I don't think you pay $7.5 billion just to put it on Game Pass. Like, you could have put Skyrim and other things on Game Pass for a lot less money than $7.5 billion.
They could. They definitely. That's why I really just don't think they're ready to cash out of every other console manufacturer yet. I think it's going to depend on the game, and I think the next year or two are going to be very interesting and fun to watch because of this. So.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. The last piece of news that I had was this was revealed at the Playism Games show that was hosted by Japan's oldest indie publisher, the original Bright Memory, which is the prequel to the Bright Memory Infinite.
Infinite? What a dumb...
was shown.
Talk about the names. Sorry.
Back in May, is coming as an Xbox Series X and S launch title November 10th. And there was a trailer, and you can see it, and it looks quite a bit like the other one.
Yeah. Like Bright Memory, y'all.
You can't really tell the difference between the two.
It's not real long either, by my understanding. I haven't actually played Bright Memory, so I want to. So why not?
I played the beta, but I don't have a PC that can push like 4K and all the frames and stuff. So it was a little bit clunky for me. And even outside of just the graphics, the game itself, like the menus and the actions, were a little clunky for me. So I personally am not
PC players showing on this one.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So that was just Monday.
That was only Monday. I want to know. I'm gonna cut you at the knees here. I want to know how your pre-order of the Xbox Series A or B, X or S, went, because like that was Tuesday, right? So we get all this Monday, dude, and we all have our conniption fit, and we're all excited, and then we all go, oh no. now people who might not have wanted one of these might want one, and now we might have to fight more. So many browser windows. So Microsoft did this differently than Sony. Microsoft said 8 a.m. Pacific.
You mean than just shooting the gun?
So I
go.
When I say Microsoft did this differently, I mean Microsoft did something.
Did something.
Like vomiting out. My God, the PlayStation thing was a nightmare, and I got one because of sheer luck. But Microsoft was like, we have a plan. Don't worry about it. We're going to use our Azure cloud services. The website will stay up. It did not. So 8 a.m. retailers are going to launch. These are our partners. How many browser windows did you have open?
At least 10. I
had my phone and a bunch on my computer. Did you get one? I know the answer, but I'm asking for the listeners.
I got 3.
Of which ones? Are they all X's?
I got 2 X's and an S. First thing I want to say is, boy, the week that I've had a great week. It was so funny. Kevin's like, I quit the band. And then like from that moment forward, an amazing ride happened. Kevin got off the train and the train went down the track.
We're like, hey, later, your first show will be no big deal. Here's the notes. And then Monday happened and I'm like, oh no. I'm going to stretch. I'm going to need to get my cane. I'm going to need to lay out like my my foam roller. This is going to be a thing.
Do you even know why this is even like super funny? Kevin, huge Bethesda guy.
Oh no.
He loves Fallout. He loves Fallout 76.
It's just.
He quits the show. He's like, I'm not passionate about Xbox. Xbox buys. Like one of his favorite.
I was not ready. I agreed to do this, and then all this happened. I'm like, what have I done to myself? What have I done? My gray hair is like, it's already there because I have 2 children, but it's kicking. So you bought 3 Xboxes.
I did.
I imagine not all 3 of those Xboxes are for yourself, unless you're a monster.
They're not. No. So I stayed up the night before until 3, just in case. I was like, maybe.
Well, it was because Sony made us have PTSD, right? Like I was stressed.
Everything leaks early. Like I was sure. I was like, somebody's gonna go. Somebody's gonna have it up for a little bit of time. Somebody's gonna have it up. I
was shocked by that everybody played ball. So Microsoft must have said, "Look at here. I will fine you. You won't get stuck."
Yep.
So then first thing Tuesday, we start seeing reports, or maybe it was Monday, that GameStop's only getting a
handfuls.
Because GameStop sucks.
The most that I saw, I actually did see one store in Texas that got 33 X's.
It's the only store in Houston, maybe. I don't know.
But most people were like 5, 6, 9.
Yeah,
4.
I think in Jersey, because we're a dense state, I called my guy and said, hey, how many did you get? He's like, oh, I got like a dozen across both. Yeah, so like 10 and 2, stuff like that.
Yeah. So I had 10 sites open. I had Target, Walmart, Amazon, Best Buy, and Microsoft. And
that was me too.
I was going to go to Microsoft. I had a page open for each model.
Same.
I was like, I'm going to go with Microsoft first because I stayed up till 3 a.m. I was seeing what happened in Australia and what happened in Europe.
Okay.
And they were crashing immediately. Like Australia sold out. We have an Australian listener. He was
got one.
Yeah, but he's like, they sold out in like 4 minutes. They were gone.
I didn't need that stress. I'm reading all this stuff and I'm like, I was not stressed about buying one of these consoles. I had such a mature attitude. If I don't get one, I'll buy one in a couple weeks. And now I'm sweating at my desk like I need to sit around in deodorant today.
Sunday, I'm sitting there and I'm like, everybody's going to buy PlayStations. Nobody likes Xbox. I'm going to be fine.
I was not worried until Monday.
And then Monday happened. I'm like, I'm never going to get one.
I was like, man, now I want it twice as much because I know it's going to be hard to get because this is the American consumer in me who's like, but now I have to have it.
They had everybody down to the minute. The clock strikes 11. We immediately start F5ing everything. And Microsoft site burns to the ground. It just crashes.
Dude, everybody apparently is just as smart as we think we are.
Yeah.
Oh, Microsoft has Azure cloud services. They'll keep their site up.
Yeah.
So stupid.
They were gone. I jumped from Microsoft and I went to Target.
Me too.
Target, I put the box in the cart but couldn't check out, which I've heard from many people was common.
But then I switched to my mobile app and it checked me.
You checked out, no problem.
Yeah.
So I kept working. Walmart, I clicked right through with Walmart, but I have a Walmart credit card and account and I use it often. So
that's my Target situation. So that's probably why.
Just clicked right in. I'm in and out, and I was like, good, I've got one. That's one. That's an X. That's mine. But I want to make sure that I have it, and I want to give myself the best chance to have it on launch day, so I'm going to get another one. And the way that I was looking at it was, whoever gets here first wins. Whichever retailer gets here first wins, the other one I'll return, or I'll send it to a friend. So Amazon held back, and so did Best Buy. Amazon didn't go live for like 30 minutes after?
So I went for a walk with my kids because, my kids were homeschooling this year, so they're here with me. So I said, just give me until after this stress ball, and then we'll go for our daily mile walk. So we go to walk. It's like 11:30 at this point. And I'm walking, and I see a tweet notification pop up from Wario64. Like, if you don't know, follow him if you need to find something on the internet.
True.
And it's like Amazon has them. And I'm like, okay, sure. So I click through, add to the cart, and I'm like, why not? And I click checkout, and it just goes. And I'm like, that feels like a trap. That was too easy. I sweated for 45 or half an hour, and took me 4 seconds.
I'm the same way. I had TweetDeck up, and I have a feed just for him. I saw the tweet pop the moment it popped up, so I must have clicked into the Amazon ad 3 seconds after it went live.
Same. You and I are probably fighting for the same one.
I was right through, and I was like, that's 2. Kevin messages, and the fun thing that for our listeners that don't visit our Discord, I was keeping track of everybody that wanted one, that needed one. We had our tags flying. We kept sending everybody else links. I was actually keeping a tally of how many of our listeners, friends on our Discord had them. We had 24 people find an Xbox console or more. Yeah. Those 24 people probably bought 40 consoles. Most people bought, like Coach Mo bought 3 or 4. I bought 3. Several people bought more than one.
Yeah, I got 2 just because I'm gonna cancel whichever one looks the least like it'll happen.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm not going to drop $1,000 on Xboxes. I'll do stupider things like buy a 3080, whatever.
So Kevin wanted the S. And
that was harder to find, by the way that I understand how this went down.
So I went back to Target because I think they were one of the first ones that were live and up for the S that I saw. Mm-hmm. I added to the cart, couldn't check out. Added to the cart, couldn't check out. I kept doing it. I just kept doing it. I wasn't doing anything else. I already had my S. I already had my X consoles. So I kept doing it. For about 15 minutes, I kept doing it. And then I got to the payment screen. And I had to confirm my card. You should see me. I wish I had my wallet, actually. I plan to. I have one of those wallets that's like a band.
Oh, you have the front pocket dude wallet?
Yeah, like the new techie cool wallet.
Yeah,
so it's hard to get the exact card you're wanting. And
Dude,
you should... I just went and they went everywhere. I was like,
so what I actually did, because this is how neurotic I am, so all these listeners can learn about how borderline. Well, I'm very type A. I'm an engineer. I had all my cards for all the retailers because I have a Best Buy card and I have a Target card flipped over so the security code, the 3-digit code, was showing. So if I needed to confirm one of them, I could just type it in. They were in a line. My kids think I'm a nut job.
So I cards go everywhere. I type it in. I get there. I fill out my shipping. I hit go. I hit confirm. Cart's empty. I do it again. Cart's empty. I do it again. Cart's empty. Do it again. Cart's empty. I'm like, Kev, it's just not working, man. I can't. I start going every other shop. I start looking around. He's like, I can't get it either. Amazon hasn't done it. 10 minutes go by.
Best Buy decides to finally sell some consoles.
No. The craziest thing happened. I got an email from Target like, here's your order. I never saw the end screen. I never saw the confirmation, but apparently one of them got through.
That's hilarious. It was even with a plan, okay? And Microsoft's near infinite resources, it was still an S show, dude. This was the most stressful purchase I have made, and I own a house that I signed my name for multiple times in many years, and I'm getting too old for this. Just want to buy a hardware.
there were lots of people on Twitter that were talking about it, and you have the fanboys that are trying to decide who did it better and all that. That's not really the point. The issue is, I think a soft estimate, there's about 300 million people that really love console gaming. It's really, in all seriousness, it's kind of a low number compared to PC players, but that's about it. And in this past generation, at least 200 million of those consoles have sold. And there's even an overlap in that 200 million where there's probably tens of millions that have multiple, right? So you think about that. You have 200 million people that are trying to order the same product. Even if both companies made 10 million for day one, and we know they didn't, that's too many. There's still 100 million people out there that didn't get one, that probably wanted one,
I think that it's not helped by the fact that because we now live in a largely, global pandemic.
Yep.
a much more like the last console sold many years ago, right? Before go on the online retailer thing was huge, huge, huge. I pre-ordered both the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 during their E3 announcements with no fanfare from Amazon. No problem, right? No big deal. I stayed up till 11 o'clock and it was done. We're in a different situation now, right? It's been a number of years. Everybody's buying online. A pandemic means people aren't waiting outside of stores.
Gaming has exploded year over year. It's bigger and bigger.
Microsoft just paid $7.5 billion to acquire a bunch of IP.
And that sounds like a really good deal, actually. It doesn't sound like that's a crazy number.
That's a testament to how much money is in video games and how many people play. Like, my mom is like, I should buy a console for when your kids come. I'm like, please don't do it. What are you doing? They own Switches. But so many people are buying video games, right? So it's just, and look, it's a pandemic. We got nowhere else to go. Like, where I was really surprised they sold out as quickly as they did, though, with a $500 price tag during a financial recession. Like, I'm surprised.
I was actually surprised that the orders were open and available for as long as they were, because
that's fair.
Europe and Australia didn't get that chance. I was terrified after like the London opened. They were up and down completely in like 20 minutes. I was like, oh no.
There's a lot more density though than the United States has. Like, and I think that's part of it. They probably allocated less. They're like, well, we're going to go with Japan. Well, not Microsoft. Microsoft's like, look, all of our money is going to North America.
Right.
Where we moved the most on.
But it was hard. You had to work for it. It was a mess. But
it was a mess.
But the numbers tell the tale. Like, there are a lot of people that I know, devout PlayStation 5 owners, don't have PlayStation 5s, didn't have a chance. Everybody that's in our Discord that likes Xbox, that listens to the show, everybody got a console. I don't know one friend of mine that actually plays Xbox, that wanted an Xbox, that tried to get an Xbox, that didn't get one. Every one of them.
I know also has gotten one. And I've seen a trickle of Xbox consoles come back into pre-order.
That happened today. I saw Pops today.
Yeah, I saw some today. I saw some, late yesterday. So, I think it's interesting. I think Microsoft really wanted this to go well.
Yeah.
I think after the announcement and walk back and all the stuff around the Xbox One, they needed this to go well for their satisfaction, not necessarily for money, but for their to be able to say we're still playing in this market.
They needed the juice. They got the juice. They got back in.
They were ready to go.
And this is the most fun that it's been being an Xbox fan in many, many years.
I would go so far as to say that it is the most fun I've had being a fan of video games in a decade.
Wow. So that's big news.
Video games. And
there's a period of time where our Xbox chat was barren for days at a time, and it has been booming. It has been lit all week. Like, if you leave Discord for 2 hours, you've missed it.
People got it because I got 800 when I come back, and I'm like, I can't leave you for a second. I love you. I think November is going to be bananas because these two consoles are going to show up 2 days from each other, and my children are going to take them over.
We still don't even know what games are they going to be.
I'm going to have a bunch of games I should have played on my Xbox One X that I'm going to play forward now. That's what's going to happen.
Yep.
I make them load faster.
Still looking for those memory cards.
Oh, those are going to be expensive, and they're going to be expensive.
Yeah, and they look even more expensive even I thought. $250.
They're so small.
They are tiny.
It makes me glad I grabbed an X because it's got more internal space.
Yeah.
I can ride it out a little longer.
It's worth the money. It was so funny. I had somebody DM me earlier, and they were like, 200 was my limit. And I was like, well, I'm not going to take a stand and tell you that I had a limit because I know myself, and I'm going to buy one. I'm going to get one no matter what.
I think they're cool. I will something like that. I can wait on. That's the price of that kind of memory will come down.
I may not like it.
You're gonna do it. You're gonna growl about it.
But I'm gonna do it. I'm that buffet gamer, as Dev would put it. Like, I like having lots of things available because I just hot swap constantly from games. So that's the news. That's the news this week. Pre-orders, and like you said, an amazing week.
It's exhausting. I'm tired. It's Wednesday. I need to take a knee already.
My wife hated it because I stayed up till 3. I'm sick. I stayed up till 3. I woke up at 7. I'm sitting down here in sweats and a blanket.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there tapping my computer. She's like, what are you doing? I was like, you don't understand. We've got to do it or I'll never get one. It'll be next year before we get one. And I do think that's true. I think if you didn't get one this period, I don't think the chances for you getting one launch day are high.
No, I think it's going to be a lot like the Switch. This is going to feel a lot like the Switch did for a couple weeks after, where they'll come in stock, they'll go out of stock immediately. And the Switch was exactly like this, and I think we're going to see the same thing again.
Yeah.
And also, like, they're kind of hamstrung on what they can manufacture and ship right now, too.
Well, it's too close to Black Friday.
Oh,
and we're too close to launch.
Yes, we're close to launch. And they can't manufacture as quickly as they normally could because they can't pack as many people together to do that. So there's a consideration there. So yes, I wanted one, and I did the thing where I got one and then jumped up and screamed really loud. And then my husband came downstairs and pokes his head down and he's like, "You get one?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, cool. I can stop stressing out for you." Very cute.
I saw a lot of people on Twitter and they're like, we'll get restocks next month. And I'm like, we're like 48 days away from launch. Like, it's a lot closer than you think. November sounds far, but we're almost in October. Like, it'll be here in no time. We are really close.
Yeah, it's October next week. Just think about that, kids. It's spooky.
Ooh, it's going to be good times. I'm all about it. I can't wait to start doing my Halloween decorations. Okay, let's close out the show with our Xbox One question. And because we had a new host, I took as many questions as we got. So first question comes from Seth. And he says, if you received the Series X today and you got to do early previews like all of the cool kids, I've known Jeff Grubbs had one all weekend, how would you spend your first hour with it?
Turn it on, listen to the noise, turn it off. Scream. Turn it on, listen to the noise, turn it off. Scream. No, I'm just kidding. I would probably do the thing where I grabbed the game that had the longest, most frustrating load times and see what it could do. I want to know. I want to know what how fast can you bring this game to play? And then I would put the whole system in suspend and see how quickly I could be playing. And that would be like the novelty for the first hour.
Just keep going back and forth. Just like, look how fast I can do this.
Because you can suspend multiple games now. I would be like, now I'm playing Doom. And then I would call my husband down and make him watch.
Yeah.
And he would roll his eyes at me and then he would leave. And then I would call both my children down and make them watch. And then they would roll their eyes and go play Fortnite. So that'd be my hour.
The answer should be Cyberpunk, but it won't be there day one. We'll have to wait a few days. So it's probably going to be Gears. I've been on a Gears kick, and all the improvements and everything that they're doing, like, I kind of want to do that. Maybe Watch Dogs, but I'm not a big Watch Dogs. I've never gotten into it, so I think I'm going to probably boot up some old stuff. Like, I want to see, like, what does Forza look like on X?
Yeah.
Like, and I bought a new TV to do 120 frames, and when the Dolby Vision updates, it's going to do that too. So I bought an entire TV built around this console. So I absolutely want to put it on display, and I want to see it. Like, show me what you can do.
I think if I had to pick one game, is Assassin's Creed launch day? I think it is.
It is.
I'm very into Vikings right now. I'm watching that show, and Ubisoft has problems. That's a different conversation for a different show, especially as a woman. All right. But Brad Murder Viking Lady, let's go. I want to play that. Let's go. I'm
trying to hold off on that one just because I know the Cyberpunk comes. It's like, it makes no sense for me to buy Assassin's Creed if I'm just going to start playing Cyberpunk 7 days later. But I'm not even going to lie. I might, just to do it.
Here's the thing. I can also be a murder lady in Cyberpunk. But
True.
Cyberpunk for me is coming up against my favorite game of all time, which is Witcher 3. It's in that top 3. So for me, there's so much expectation that I'm almost afraid to pick up and play that game.
Oh, that makes sense.
Give it some air to breathe. Remind myself to come down off the ledge that it's not the same game. And then play the Murder Viking Lady for a little while. And then I'll come around on Cyberpunk. I'll play and I will love it. But I have to have a heartfelt conversation about how there's no Geralt or Ciri, and I'm very upset. So,
the Elusive Man wants to know, what's your favorite gaming snack? And he says, keeping it on brand. Who got a pre-order? Already answered that one. And what's the first game you're looking forward to playing next gen? And that's the same thing. We already answered it. But his is Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I'm interested in knowing if that update comes out day one or not, or if it'll be later.
Hope so. That's a good game that more people should play.
My game of the year.
Ooh, I loved it enough that I went to I Am 8-Bit and bought the vinyl soundtrack for both because I really loved both Ori games. The first one made me cry because, look, I have emotions. Okay, but
first one made me cry too. First one gets you hard, like that opening.
Oh, that opening rips my heart right out. So, I cried in front of my 10-year-old son, and he goes, "It's okay, Mom. We all cry sometimes."
Nice.
Yeah, we did talk about the pre-order thing, like the snack thing. All right, look, I buy the bags of Takis, the Fuego flavor. There's only one flavor. I realize that those are hot Cheeto dust nightmares, right?
What the hell is a Taki?
It's like a tortilla chip that's been rolled and then just coated in spicy citric acid dust.
Oh, okay.
Salt. And I love them. And they're like Cheetos where they make your hands turn like bright red. So I eat them with chopsticks so I don't mess up my controller. As hell.
That's next level gamer.
No, yeah. I have a set of chopsticks that have Totoro on them. And I eat them while I play games. And my children tease me about it, but they're my favorite.
It's exciting. My favorite snack are Mike and Ike's or jelly beans. Specific flavors of jelly beans. I like the sour Jelly Bellies, and then I like the Starburst jelly beans. I go nuts for those. Or Mike and Ike's, either the sour kind or the regular kind, either one.
I like sour.
I'm a candy.
I like candy. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get hate mail. Get ready, kids. I like black licorice.
Oh,
I know. I am the 1%.
It's the worst.
Fight me. Let's go.
Next, you're going to tell me that you're going to lay your console sideways like that picture I retweeted. Those people,
like little mini fridges when they're standing up.
People are monsters. Why would you do that? It's got the stupid. It's got the disc on the side of it that sticks out.
Now I'm going to lay it down and take a picture of it just to bother you. Because I'm a woman and we're spiteful. And that's a stereotype, but it's very true.
It should be illegal. That's what it should be.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to do it.
Should have people should riot for that. Like, what the hell? I was so upset. And they just stuck it in there. How does that even work? The exhaust is blowing in the cabinet. It's like, get it out of there.
Take a picture of my consoles on their sides with good and plenty stacked on top of them, just for you. And I will control you the whole way. Black jelly beans and good and plenty. Let's go.
Ryan's in the chat. He's talking about him turning it sideways.
I want day one Xbox sideways pictures to be sent to Donnie's Twitter account.
Why would you do this to me? Look. I brought it up earlier. Don Matrick once said, if you don't want to play online, we have a console for you. If you want to put your console sideways, Xbox has a console for you.
I got a better idea. I'm going to build a shelf for it out of the good and plenty boxes.
You realize when you put the Series X sideways, the logo is sideways. Like it's disoriented.
I read that you can turn the logos.
Oh, can you? Damn.
I think so. I know the PlayStation 1 you can turn.
Because I was thinking, I was like, they even structurally designed it for you to stand it up. Like they built it into it.
It's a cube. It's basically the marker from Dead Space. They structurally designed it to take over your brain. All right, look, you could fit a 6-pack of cans in that thing, dude. Just put it wherever you can find space.
It's gonna overheat. You can't put it in a cabinet like that. Giant fan?
No, I'm actually probably going to stand it up because it's the only place I have space for that monstrosity.
That's what we're talking about.
They're both big, but I will lay it down on its side on a stack of good and plenty just for you on day one.
Now, if you get a PlayStation 5, right, you put it on the floor and then you put your TV on top of it. It is the TV stand.
That's funny because it looks like my TV stand. It's 15 inches long, by the way.
It's gigantic.
There's an obvious joke in there. We're not doing that today, but I don't actually know where to put it because it's bigger than some of the arcade sticks I own. That is, in fact, what she said. I am she. So I don't know what to do. I am going to build a second entertainment cabinet just for these two things.
Yeah, I did the Ross gif from Friends where he was trying to move the couch. Pivot!
It's one of my favorite skits of all time, and I will probably be screaming that in the basement while trying to figure out where to put these consoles.
Yeah.
And my husband will come down and do the Chandler bit where he just goes, shut up, shut up, shut up. It's my marriage.
Okay, that is going to do it for us this week over here in the Xbox Empire. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy our new host and new team member. Make sure you follow her at
ET Dragon.
Yeah, over on Twitter. She's in the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, you're missing out. I keep telling everybody, psvg.blog/Discord will get you an automatic invite. She's been over there all week long, so our Discord folks already know. They knew the surprise ahead of time.
I will gif at you in the Discord. Come hang out. We can talk about how much we like a black licorice and bother Donnie by laying all of our consoles on their sides. Come troll him with me.
Now I'm regretting this decision. I can't believe it. But that's it, guys. An amazing week in Xbox. Think about it. A month ago, they delayed Halo. It was a meme. Everybody was making fun of it. Xbox is dead. And in 2 days, They completely flipped the script, and so many more people are excited about the brand and the product and the service that is Xbox. Like you said, it didn't have to be a console. If you like consoles, they got an awesome one. It could be PC, it could be your phone, whatever. But earth-shattering news. Like, we could go 50 years in video games and not have news like somebody acquiring Bethesda. Like, you imagine if somebody tried to acquire Ubisoft or EA or Activision. I mean, this is huge. So it was just a blast. And I'm sorry I'm not my normal peppy self. I am sick, and I'm trying to get through all this, but I had a blast.
This was great.
It was great. And I was telling Devin privately, I love this stuff like way too much. Like the stuff that we did. Like everybody kept coming in like, hey, I got one. And it was like, that's 6. I got another one. That's 8. I got another one that's 10. And we all kept, it was a communal effort, and it was very group based. It was just a lot of fun to share that enthusiasm with people. And that's new for me on a console launch. I think the best that I may have had was like Switch, but even with Switch, like I bought it in store. I wasn't in our Discord. I wasn't surrounded by our friends and our listeners. Like this was different. And in that regard, for as stressful as it was, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I had an absolute blast. I was cloud nine. I was everything I could have wanted to be. And
I owe everybody who's like listening and who's been so warm a very big thank you. You guys have been like, I jumped in on that Discord and it was just like, I've been there for 10 years. Like everybody's been really rad. And it's, I was feeling cynical about consoles and about video games. Cause I mean, we all go through those periods, right? And this community has maybe reinvigorated a lot of excitement. Like I'm pumped for November. I was not a month ago. So thank you to you, Donnie, and to all the folks in this community. You guys are rad. You're just rad.
Thank you so much. I said it. I don't think I've ever been this excited for a main like console, like a non-Nintendo console, like a traditional beefy console launch. Like I'm so excited for Xbox Series X.
Let's go.
I'm so excited. I bought a TV. That's how excited I am. Like I'm so excited, and man, it was great. So again, that's going to do it. Next week, she'll be the host, and Empire keep rolling along. We'll just keep doing it. Just keep making more and more waves, making more and more friends. So I hope you're here for it. If you want some of the Xbox goodness, make sure you're following us over at the Xbox Empire on Twitter. But that's going to do it for us this week. We'll catch you next week. Good night, folks.
Bye, everybody.